Hello there and welcome to the video. We have the final of the World Cup. Well, after a grueling, that's all I can say, a few weeks. When we started with 206 players, we are down to 2 players in single elimination. So it all comes down to this. The first game between these gentlemen, Karjakin had white against Duda, and that game ended in a draw. So this game is for all the marbles. If somebody wins, he is the winner of the World Cup. Now both of them have qualified for the candidates, which is obviously very important for both of them, but we need to find a winner. And let's see what happened. Duda with the white pieces, and he opened up with pawn to d4, knight f6, c4, e6. What's it going to be? Is white going to allow the nimso or play knight f3? He plays knight f3, and usually Karjakin has been going b6 here. Well, back in the old days, he was one of the main experts on the Queen's Indian, but here he opts for the Queen's Gambit declined, and in fact after knight c3 he switches over to the Tarrasch. Now white takes on d5, black accepts a double pawn, and he wants to get active play around the pawn. Bishop g5, bishop g7. We can't take yet and try to take the pawn, because at the end either we hang our queen or after it takes we hang the pawn. So e3 first, castles, rook to d1, big pressure on the pawn, but knight c6 hits the queen, and now bishop b6. So defending the pawn for now, bishop to b5, threatening the knight, so queen b6 to defend. And yeah, here we have the first new move of the game. I found one game in my database where Anish Kiri had white against Wang Yu, and Anish castled, which looks normal. But Duda played a novelty. He took an f6. So according to my database, a brand new game here. Bishop takes f6, knight takes d5. We have a trade. He takes the d pawn. Black gets this one. Now one of the main trumps of white's position is going to be this bishop, and the pressure this bishop can mount on this diagonal. Conversely, black doesn't really have anything that he can target with his bishop. But here an interesting choice by Duda. I mean, castles looks very normal, but he played king to e2. And, well, what's the idea? Good question. It reminds me of a line in the Grunfeld, and I hope I can remember it. The Grunfeld after, if we go back to the starting position, knight g3, d5, I believe it is bishop d5, probably after knight f3, right? Knight f3, knight e4, knight f3, knight e4, bishop back, takes, yeah, something like this. When black takes this, we give a check, queen d7, queen takes, and white plays e3 here, allowing this trade of the light squared bishops, and white takes with the king. In this case, I think c5 or castles. In this case, white plays king e2. And with this structure and versus a black squared bishop, notice there's no light squared bishop, so no danger on this diagonal. The king is surprisingly safe, and white is kind of playing for, a good middle game, and maybe the king is ready for the end game. Also, the main idea is just to get the rook out and maybe then get the king back if needed. So, there's a precedent. Other openings where the king can be quite happy. Okay, let's get back to king e2. So yeah, similar structure. I mean, with this, the king is kind of safe, but I think the main idea is revealed in the next few moves. Bishop f6, rook a to d1. I mean, we could have done this with castling as well, just castle on rook d1. Rook a to c8, bishop to c4. Like I said, we want this bishop on the diagonal, and black will struggle to defend f7. Queen b4, queen b3. White is actually happy to trade queens. Well, number one, he has the king here, so it's closer to the action, especially if you trade queens, so white is happy with that. But I think the other idea with the king on e2 is that it's surprisingly safe on e2 with the light square bishop for white and black's light square bishop off the board. I think now we're better equipped to start pushing pawns. Well, the king is actually safer here if we push the pawns. And that's indeed what happened. Knight b8, g4, starting to push, h6, h4, g6 we have to play, because otherwise we can play this and this, and the diagonal is a mess for black. So g6, g5 anyway, takes, bishop e7, and rook e5. Knight c6 by Karjakin, protecting the bishop, hitting the rook. But here, spectacular move by Duda. Rook d7. A very unexpected move. Well, because we're hanging this, and Karjakin did not take it. He played bishop to d8. So what happens if he takes it? Well, this is surprisingly difficult. And well, one of the key things is that rook here we can play, for instance, knight takes g6 when this is hanging. And note that this is a very weak. If we try something like bishop takes g5, we take this, and we're gonna win a bunch of pawns, and you can't save the rook because we take with a rook, and the next rook move is pretty scary, and it's basically almost like the mating pattern I had. The bishop and knight flex usually would have a pawn, maybe here and here, but let's say we make a move like rook c1 or something. Now it's just going to be mate. You can interpose the rooks, takes, and mate. Knight is covering these, and the rook covers the rest. So the power of this light square bishop is tremendous in these lines. So that allows this spectacular move, rook to d7. Now, okay, bishop d8 was played by Karjakin, rook to b5, now saving the rook, putting big pressure on this pawn. Knight to a5, bishop d5, the bishop just keeps on shining. And notice, we've seen this so many times, Capablanca rule, bishop here, the pawns on the opposite color go so well together. And notice that almost, well not almost, all of white's pieces except for the pawns are on light squares. Seems like when you're playing on the light squares, you have a light square strategy. This is what you do. Bishop c7, sorry, rook c7. And here another strong move by Duda. Takes on f7. Bishop takes. I've taken the rook, you're losing a bunch of pawns. And your king is also not very safe. Karjakin went with king to g7. But Duda simply took on c7, played bishop d5. And Karjakin, he resigned. He's way down on the clock, he's down a pawn. And it looks like black can fight. I mean, it's only a pawn, but the more you look at it, this is just a completely messed up position for black. For instance, let's try some b6, just to free the bishop. Something. Knight d4. Look at this. I'm gonna hit everything here. Okay, let's avoid knight e6. Knight e6 comes anyway. Let's save it, and then you find out that the rook can just swing over and the king is in big trouble. And once again, because this bishop is the MVP of the game. Another try, maybe bishop b6 or something, knight e5. We're just coming in here. I mean, black can try to do something, maybe trade down like this, but the position is so good. Computer doesn't even want to take on c6. It says like plus 5-6, and just plays rook b3 calmly. And if the rook gets in, it's game over. We can always play f4 to protect here. He can't play here because rook b7. So let's play any move. I mean, we're just coming in. There's nothing to be done. And once we land here, we take this. This game over, and looks like, yeah, Karjakin was just disgusted with his position and resigned the game. So fantastically done by Duda, who really, you know, proved he belonged at this stage by beating Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karjakin, the two people I was expecting to meet in the final. But Duda, he took them both down, and he is the deserved winner of the World Cup in 2021. So congratulations to Jan-Krzysztof Duda and to Polish chess. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'll probably post one more video of Magnus's game, but yeah, that will conclude our coverage of the World Cup, and we can move on to other things. But it was fun. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye bye.